We are finally live. Good morning, everyone. It would not be 2020 if I didn't start the morning off with technical difficulties. So, 2021 cannot come fast enough. I am live in my Christmas jammies. It's something I do every year, and my kids are mortified by it. And I love it. It brings me joy. I told them yesterday, just humor me, because I get a lot of joy out of our family Christmas pajamas. So, how is everyone doing? Christmas is such a mixed bag when you are dealing with a narcissist, and I've done videos on it. I've done, hello, Lottie. Blogs and my weekly e-newsletter. It's a big topic because the narcissist during the holidays, whether it's Christmas or Hanukkah or any other holiday, they spiral. It's a reminder to them that they are not like everyone else, that that they are different. And, they usually they're pretty good at role playing through life and watching, cognitive empathy. They know how people are supposed to act and they do a pretty good job of it. But I feel like the Christmas season, they're just being hit from every angle. And so they spiral, and a lot of times they use the children as weapons. I just came across a Facebook memory yesterday where I look at myself, and I was an unhealthy weight. I was so stressed out. It was the first year of my custody battle. My weight was what it was when I was 16 years old. I looked not okay. I didn't look healthy. And I remember the photo was actually, I had a server in a restaurant snap a photo of my kids and I. And I remember that I just ordered coffee for myself because I couldn't afford to purchase an adult meal. I was barely able to purchase 2 kid meals, and it was Christmas Eve, and I wanted so desperately to make to make it a memorable Christmas. And so we started this new tradition where every Christmas Eve we would go explore a new town nearby our house. So we drove about 45 minutes north to the coast and chose Cambria, California. We spent the whole day exploring. They got hot chocolate. We did lots of window shopping. And then I took them to this restaurant and they had lunch and I drank coffee because, but if you were to ask them about that day, it wasn't that mom looked sickly and, was so stressed out that she couldn't eat. It wasn't that mom couldn't afford to buy her lunch. It was that they got hot chocolate, that we were on an adventure. And you can see it in the picture in their faces. Just, they had no idea what was going on in the world around them. And that was the Christmas where my church had to come together and buy gifts for my kids because I couldn't afford them. And then my ex-husband, on the other hand, wasn't paying child support, was using that financial leverage that he had over me to torture me. And then he lavished the girls with tons of gifts and presents and this over-the-top Christmas. But, their memory of that year is our exploring a little town, which didn't cost anything to do. But, we talked about it last night. It was one of their most memorable Christmases. So, we tend to be so hard on ourselves as parents, as moms especially. Not being able to give our kids everything that they want or need. Sometimes they need to just go have an adventure and drink hot chocolate. And those are the memories that are going to stick. So, and remember, even, and I've heard from so many of you over the past couple of weeks, and Christmas can be difficult. The holidays can be so difficult, and so many of you are struggling. Just remember this isn't forever. And it's about making those memories with your kids, and it doesn't matter if you have to celebrate your holiday 3 days after the actual holiday or 2 days before. What our kids are going to remember is the moments. My kids could not tell you, which years we celebrated Christmas on the 28th. But they could tell you about our Christmas Eve adventure or the hot chocolate or whatever it is. So just keep that in mind, and it's going to be okay. And hopefully 2021 eases up on all of us a little, because I know it's been a really hard year. So I'm going to jump right into the questions. Number one, how do I survive this? My ex will lie in court and everywhere else. Hello, and you're welcome. We were trying to figure out the schedule, and I'm like, you know what? People need connection. Good morning, Deanna. People need the connection, and I know a lot of you are alone for the holidays, and your littles are with the narcissist, and so that's where this becomes so important, because we are a community, we are a village, and I look forward to this. So I'm glad we could come together. So the question, how do you survive this? The narcissist lies and lies, and their entire case is built on deception. And, you have to, good morning, Safe Haven. We have to keep in mind, and I see it play out all the time. Your foundation, our foundation in these custody situations needs to be built on a solid foundation of truth, of our truth. And, and for me, a lot of it was taking the high road, not getting caught up in all of the little battles. Good morning. They are going to lie. If I picture, when you take a bunch of cards and you're stacking them and building a tower, that's not sustainable. It's going to collapse. And so their tower may be higher than ours at many junctures along the way, but theirs isn't built on a foundation of truth. And they will have wins. I look back at how many times I felt completely defeated, and why do I keep going into this court expecting them to protect my kids when they're failing my kids, when my ex-husband is blowing right past me with all of his lies, and I end up looking emotional or unstable or whatever it is. And this is where that marathon mindset comes in. We are not in, it's not even a normal marathon. This is an ultra marathon. You have to pace yourself. You have to be so centered in your truth that you aren't thrown off by the narcissist lies, because they are going to lie. That is what their little card tower is built on, and it will crumble, and it's going to be different for everyone. Good morning, Danielle. Good morning, Adrian. Adrian says, I have court on the 20th. Yeah. Oh, and I knew when he remarried, the custody case would start up. Exactly. We are on, to some degree, the roller coaster that they are creating. And so, you have to, for me, it was constantly checking myself, going, am I letting him control this? Some of it is out of our control, but sometimes, you have to press the emergency release and get off the ride and go, you know what, I'm gonna observe. Now he's remarried. Now the new wife may be more disordered than him. I see that a lot. And things become, again, it's a really difficult leg of the marathon. And yeah, Jen says, you repeated, know your truth. You have to know your truth. when you know your truth at such a core level, their little antics and lies aren't going to sway you as much. And it helps you to, when you do have that marathon mindset, ultra marathon mindset, it helps you to decipher which things are going to really matter in the court. So many of us, we pride ourselves on our truth, our honesty, our transparency. And so when that is being challenged, it can really rock you at a core level. Good morning, Anna. Um, and so, and it's the reminders. It's, I'm standing on my foundation of truth. Is this, whatever they are throwing out right now, is it going to matter in 5 years? So we just have to brace ourselves. And this is where radical acceptance and managing your expectations comes into play. Because, going back to the question, my ex will lie in court, is what she said. How do I survive this? I expect that my ex is going to lie in court. That's what his case is built on. And so radical acceptance. I accept. It doesn't mean I agree with it, but it means I am present, I am focused, and here we are. He's doing exactly what I anticipated he would do because I'm managing my expectations appropriately. If I go into it with the mindset of, oh my God, why is he doing this? Why? Then I'm not as strong as I could be. I accept that that's what his entire case is going to be built on. And I look for holes in that. And I look at it with my strategy hat on so that I'm not guided by emotions. So there's going to be so many dark spots on your journey. For me, that's where faith came in, one foot in front of the other, when you can't see what's in front of you. Dr. Martin Luther King, gave us that quote about the staircase, and it is so prevalent and so true. For me, it really was faith and just trusting that the truth would prevail in the end. And it did. Lies aren't sustainable. They're new relationships. That was brought up by Adrian. It seems to give them more power when they first connect with someone. And when two dysfunctional people are targeting you, it strengthens their relationship and their bond because they don't have to worry about their own baggage, their own garbage when they are focused on you. And when they are both coming at you, they're each getting a feed off of each other. For him, it's, look at my woman, attack my ex. It's that triangulation feed. For her, she's getting kudos from him when she's in attack mode, when she's helping him to craft the emails, those things. And so, it's this sick dynamic. And the more you can extract yourself from that and not let them know it bothers you, or, you just keep pulling yourself out. You don't have to attend every battle that you're invited to. Because when you pull yourself out of this triangle, they have nothing left to do but deal with their own stuff. And so many of these dysfunctional relationships, they're sustainable for a while because there is huge feed supply coming in, but not long term. They will implode when left on their own. And I've had the opportunity to watch it play out so many times over the years, not just in my own situation, but in my clients. A lot of my coaching clients, when I'm talking to them, one-on-one on an ongoing basis, I get to know them. I get to know the intricacies of the narcissist that they're up against, and then the new partner. Most of these situations, I can predict how it's going to play out because I've seen so many of them. They're all the same, but they're all different. There's variations. And so a lot of it comes down to profiling the person that you're up against. So you can, that's that strategy mindset, kind of anticipating their attacks or how things are going to unfold to some degree. You're able to do that the more you are operating from strategy versus emotion. Okay, question number 2. Can you talk about narcissistic parents when it comes to food allergies or other health concerns? This is such a huge topic, and it's one that so many of us deal with. There's a couple of ways I look at this. Number one, for those of you whose children have some type of special need, medical need, autism, whatever it is that you're facing, you will find that the narcissist cannot handle it. They will accuse you of Munchausen by proxy. They're going to say that, you know, if there is a problem, it's from your side of the gene pool. Mentally, they see their kids as extensions of themselves, as possessions. And I know with my ex-husband, when my youngest daughter had her first seizure, he wanted to know who on my side of the family had this. At the time, I was in such a fog. We were still married that I thought he was just curious about her my medical background, my side of the family. But it was, you know, that protection mechanism in his mind. He is perfect, and therefore his children, his extensions of himself, cannot be flawed. That it was his mindset. How could this child be having a seizure? How could this child have a food allergy? He doesn't have food allergies. No one in his family does. Who can he blame? Where can he find the victim card? And so we see this play out a lot when children have any type of, you know, something that we see as moms or as parents as normal, you know, things that come up with our kids. They see it as, you know, a personal flaw. And yeah, Danielle says, my grandson is on the autism spectrum, recently diagnosed. My ex doesn't know yet. He is going, I can't say he, I don't know him for sure, but they take it so hard and they will dispute top medical experts. They will go up against, you know, anybody and say, you talked them into this, you manipulated them into this, you want something to, they just can't handle the thought of someone who is their extension to be, you know, anything but perfect. And that's really what it comes down to. And so food allergies, health concerns, they're going to push it. First of all, they know that that's a button for you. If, you know, for example, with my kids, I am very into, you know, health and organics. I have my own health issues. And so I made all of my daughter's baby food when they were babies and really went above and beyond when it came to what went into their bodies. Because my ex and his mom knew this, they immediately took my kids to McDonald's, and then made sure they reported back with their little McDonald toys, because he knew that would be enough to put me over the edge. Is McDonald's fast food. It's just not what I do. Teach their own, no judgment at all, just for my kids, my family. That was something that was important to me because of my own health concerns. But and my point in sharing that is anywhere they know you have a button, they are going to push it. They are going to lean into it with their entire body weight. And so if your child has a nut allergy, you can only imagine how many opportunities this person now has to push your buttons, or to go right up to the edge and freak you out without actually crossing it because they don't want to be, you know, perceived as a neglectful parent if it goes to a doctor or whatnot. Some of them are so, you know, their narcissism levels are so high that it overrides logic and they will put the children in jeopardy, just to mess with you, or to maybe, you know, they're operating in a place of denial that they truly can't absorb that their child has something different than others. So, and you'll watch the whole family play into it. You know, the parents, there's a reason the narcissist turned out the way he or she did. Their parents, their family structure and dynamics are usually just as dysfunctional or more. And then when they're all together as a united team, it's terrifying. And so you'll see the whole family play into these situations. Let's see. My ex says I manipulated my daughter's pediatrician. Exactly. Apparently, I manipulated our marriage therapist to think that my ex had a personality disorder. I'm much more powerful than I ever gave myself credit for. And so apparently I'm in good company. Um, Lots of great comments over there. So make sure you're checking in with the comments. I always like to remind people I'm not an attorney, I'm not a therapist. I can't give you legal advice or mental health advice. We are very much a community of survivors. And so always check the comment section because there are some brilliant, knowledgeable people. I know Deanna is going to be starting my coach training program in January. And so I look, every week I know some of you from my coach training program join us. I am so excited about downloading everything I know, everything Dr. Romney and Dr. Barrett and some brilliant humans that I am fortunate enough to call friends and colleagues. They're going to download their brains for you. And so this powerhouse community of survivors, we're going to become more educated together. And there's Jackie Miller. Jackie is in my program also. She's already out there Jackie's out there coaching and making a name for herself. And so I look forward to adding to that even more. When my ex tested positive for COVID, he was actually relieved that he didn't have to visit with the children for Christmas. Perfect. That works for us too, right? Okay, the next question. Does the narcissist think of their ex as property? Mine has a girlfriend and has moved on, but still harasses me. Absolutely. They still get their feed off of keeping, exes hanging in the background. And depending on the ex, maybe they don't even have kids with them. It's like they keep a mental Rolodex of every ex and how they can stay connected. So it's going to be different antics with each one of them. Sometimes if it's one where, maybe she had to move across the country and so their relationship ended, but it wasn't on a bad note. He may still send her Christmas cards every year or keep in touch with her and just send her a message here and there to let her know, hey, I'm thinking of you, because he keeps her hooked in. And so they get this feed supply from a variety of different areas. There could be exes that he chooses to terrorize to get that feed supply. But very much, that is what I see, is even when they, in our minds, we think when they move on, we are free and clear. And that is a misconception when it comes to a narcissist. My ex was so bizarre on this topic. Many of you who have followed my story know that my ex and I had a nesting agreement back in 2009. And for the first 6 months of that agreement, he was dating. He was out there. He had moved 4 hours away. I remember things were actually, I felt more hope with him as a parent than I had felt in a long time, because he was getting such a high and I still didn't understand narcissism and how it unleashes when you break up. So he was the best version of himself because he had the best of both worlds. He was out there dating. I had been emotionally checked out for 2 years. And so he was out there dating. He was showing up and being a great dad. He knew he had me under his thumb. It's that dog peeing on a tree thing, he could come home on the weekends, make sure I was, doing what I needed to be doing, the control aspect of things. And we were joking about him dating. And I remember one day something popped up on my phone and it was fitnesssingles.com. And I remember sending him the message and saying, hey, this looks right up your alley up in San Francisco. You should find somebody who does triathlons because that's your thing. And that was never my thing, never would be my thing. But, this is, and our fitness extremes, his was in an addiction, caused problems in our marriage. So I thought, hey, great idea. What I didn't realize is even though we were joking about him dating cougars and triathletes and all this stuff, when I decided to start dating, it would be World War III. And that's where I ended up in a women's shelter. Because I had met Glenn, who I'm now married to. We've been together almost 10 years. It'll be 11 years in June. That threw him over the edge. And so we have this misconception that when our exes move on, that's it. But with my clients, when I see them start to date, I always issue the warning, you have to be careful. This is not moving on like we all think of it as. They still need to keep you down, and any progress forward for you, whether it's dating, college, a new career path, a new job, is a threat to them. And, you doing better in life without them, they can't take credit, is a huge, huge threat. And so, that it is you're in a different category than most people, because normally in a healthy divorce, whatever that means, two people move forward within a year or two, they're off on their own chapters and they can come together for holidays or weddings or whatever. It's not like that for the narcissist. So you're spot on. And then the last question, our judge ordered a PPA, a parenting plan assessment. How do I prepare for this? I believe it's basically a custody evaluation. They're called different things in every state. Yes, Adrian, they want people to see that without them, you can't make it. So they'll keep causing you problems. Absolutely. And it's usually done behind the scenes. So no one else sees what they're doing. You just look like the unstable one when you react, that reactionary abuse. And so, absolutely. So parenting plan assessment, how do I prepare for this? That's a big topic. Let's see. I would, I've been through 2 full child custody evaluations. So I'm happy to share my experience with those. They're all different depending on what state you're in. Some of them involve a psych eval, others do not. Sometimes the person comes into your home, other times they don't. I know things are having to be done by Zoom right now with COVID. So it's hard to know exactly what type you are walking into. The first thing I would do is find out everything I can about my custody evaluator. I would want to know everything my attorney knows about them. I would want to be connected to other people in my state. That's where the OMB state chapters come in really handy. You can Google OMB, One Mom's Battle, state chapters, and it'll take you straight to my blog that talks about what you need to do to join your state chapter. But do your research. You want to know everything about this person because, walking into one custody evaluator's office, I could give you detailed advice on the one in my area or some of them in my area, but they all do things differently. So do your homework first. There is a fine line between preparing for it and being overly prepared, because then it can tend to look like you have a vendetta against the other person. And I've seen that play out a lot. I'll tell you, my custody evaluation back in 2010, night and day different than the one I did in 2013. For one, the earlier one, I understood I was divorcing a narcissist, but I had no idea what that really meant at the time, because back then there was nothing out there on this topic. Um, and I requested one without fully understanding what I was walking into. I didn't have the documentation, the patterns of behavior spelled out, because we were so early in our battle. It was just he said, she said, what I thought about him, what I thought he was capable of, the things he had done. But a lot of those were things in our relationship, which just don't seem to matter to the majority of evaluators. Um, my second evaluation in 2013, because my battle started in 2009, I had lots of documentation by that point. So I prepared a binder. It was about a 2-inch binder. I wanted it to pack a punch, but not be overwhelming. And so it's one of the things that I talk a lot about with my documentation webinar that I do, which, if you're interested in getting your documentation in order and creating a system, you can go to the One Mom's Battle website and click online courses. And I do offer, it's an instant download for documentation, but a lot of it is pulling together the patterns of behavior, focusing on the ones that affect your children. There's that statement that was said to me by an attorney in the very beginning that, even jerks and liars are allowed to be parents. How is it affecting the kids? That he's a jerk. He could be a jerk to you. He can write horrible things, but how is he affecting the kids? And so it's really, giving examples without overwhelming the other person. A good rule of thumb is, 3 to 5 examples for each category. And I go into more detail on that in the online course. But, I have seen people walk in with, a huge binder of files, and it was literally written into the evaluation that she presented with a binder. They called it a vendetta binder, and that it was personal and not more about the kids. So just be really careful. And that's one of the things where, when you are doing your research about these evaluators, you'll know, do they want to see examples of communication? If he's abusing, berating, or her, I would personally bring in 3 to 5 examples of our communication style and say, out of respect for your time, Mr. or Mrs. Evaluator, I've brought in, 3 examples of communication threads. I don't want to overwhelm you. I have hundreds of others if needed, but this gives a picture into, what our communication style is like. And then you're not pointing the finger saying he's a horrible, abusive person. You're letting them read for themselves, that your well-intentioned email about Friday night soccer is met with name calling and attacks and all of that. So those types of things, to paint a picture without overwhelming. And then if they want more, they can ask for more. Or here's the login to our Family Wizard or Talking Parents or one of those programs, so they can log in and see for themselves. But, it's so much of it is painting a picture of your situation and what you're up against. I will tell you that my evaluation in 2013 is very much what protected my kids. They aren't all bad. We tend to hear about the worst of the worst and how evaluations go sideways. I will tell you, by 2013, I knew enough to properly present my case and my concerns in a way that they were heard, and therefore my children were protected. So that is, let's see, I'm going to look at a couple of the comments. Penelope says, does someone ever get over what their ex did to them and their children? Here's where I got to it, and I just wrote something on this topic. When it comes to, especially during the holidays, especially, religion or whatever religious outlets, they tend to really put pressure on us to forgive. I remember sitting through a sermon once at my church at the height of my battle, and the pastor talking about nothing is unforgivable. We need to get to that place. And I just remember thinking, okay, it's one thing if somebody comes to me and says, hey, I did this, I was wrong, can I have your forgiveness? This is ongoing terrorism where this person is hurting my children to hurt me. How do you forget, how do you heal a wound when it's constantly being violated? So I left church really, really struggling. Where I have come in my journey is not forgiveness, other than I forgive myself for the decisions I made that led me to the narcissist, the red flags that I overlooked because I didn't know better back then. And so I have forgiveness for myself. What I have for the other person who has harmed me and my children so badly is compassion. When you say, do you ever get over it? I came to a place of acceptance. I have compassion for a person. No one would choose this life. No one would choose to be void of emotions, connection with other people. No one would choose to not have empathy, to give or receive authentic love and relationships. No one would sign up for that type of life. And so I go back to who my ex was as a 5-year-old child, obviously wounded by traumas that no one will ever truly know about because he's not able to be honest about what happened, probably to protect his family. Who knows what really went on behind closed doors. But I have compassion for that 5-year-old child that was traumatized or hurt so badly that he became a monster, because I truly don't believe he would have chosen that path. And so, do you ever get over it? I get comments every once in a while from people going, why don't you move on? Like, this is a long time ago. Why are you still talking about it? I'm still talking about it because so many others are going through what I've been through. So many others are still in the fog, and I will never forget how painful that is. And brutal honesty, unless I tell a story specifically about my ex-husband, I don't even think of him in this work. It has nothing, what I do has nothing to do with my ex-husband. It has to do with a personality disorder, suspected or diagnosed, or abusive traits. Narcissistic abuse needs to be talked about more. It's not. There's so little known about it or recognized or validated unless the mental health practitioner has personally experienced it themselves and gets it. But this is a huge topic with lots of layers, lots of pain, and I think it's a personal journey for each of us. For me, that's where I've gotten to is the compassion. There's Gigi. I thought we were missing you today. The key, Gigi says, I have the same compassion for my ex. The key is having more compassion for myself than for him. That is brilliant. I really, really love that. And you're welcome, Deanna. All right, everybody. I'm going to leave you with Gigi's quote. I love that. It's a really powerful one. So, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. If you could keep my dad in your prayers, because of COVID and so many people aren't taking this seriously, he was having a procedure done 2 days ago to drain fluid off of his lung because my dad has stage 4 lung cancer, and they punctured his lung. He should have been admitted into the hospital, but they didn't have enough rooms for him in Tennessee, and so he was sent home with a punctured lung in excruciating pain and finally admitted into the hospital on Christmas morning. But then we had a bombing in Nashville, and so all of the phone lines have been down. And so my dad is currently in the hospital and we're unable to connect with him. So if everyone can send positive thoughts and prayers to my dad, that would be, it was a hard Christmas. But thank you to everyone for joining us, and lots of love to all of you out there.